Gang shit, bad shit, gang squad close.
And we're live. Welcome back to season 2 of Honor the Vision. I am your host, Samuel Delgado, coming to you live from Ocean Beach, California. Sitting here with Aaron Knoll of Verver Shop and Verver Design. How's it going, Aaron? Welcome to the show.
How you doing, man? Thanks for having me.
Good, man. It feels kind of surreal. I think back last season, you had reached out on Instagram and commented on the podcast and said, hey, you know, we should definitely do one of those. And I was like, yeah, man, let's do it. And it's been a whole year, but I'm glad we're finally here.
I can't believe it's been a year.
Yeah, man, time's been flying. So one of the things that I think about often, and we kind of collaborated on, and I think kind of sparked the foundation for this conversation, is how do you go about consciously creating culture? And in one of the visits that, you know, I had gone by your shop, it's, by the way, places that I've picked up some of the decorations and the plants that you guys see here. You know, we kind of got into a powwow, and I was like, this is it. This is the one that we're going to have a conversation about.
Yeah, we're jumping right in the deep end, but, you know, consciously creating community and culture is something that I've stepped into in the last 2-3 years. I've been a designer for over 10 years, 13 years now. So I see culture a lot. I kind of am in tune with culture and have to be in tune with culture. And, you know, that's all aspects of culture. I'm fascinated by social media culture, by culture in general, anthropologically speaking, and, you know, the deep dives, but also, you know, material culture and fashion and color and all that I need to know about for design. So I've been a spectator for a large part of my life. And I feel like I'm old enough now that I can start to maybe make some decisions and mess with it, fuck with it a little bit, you know?
I love that.
So, I mean, maybe that's what's happening a little bit with what I'm doing at my shop. I'm able to make some decisions about what that place feels like, what that footprint is in the community, you know, and kind of be affecting things as opposed to just reacting or, you know, being just a consumer.
And I love that.
Yeah, that's interesting to me, you know?
Yeah, well, you know, what's crazy is that you have over 200 local artists on display in your store. So you immediately have an impact with who I would argue is the real influencers in society nowadays. Like, yeah, you have this new coin term, influencers, from like, you know, do they have followers and can they share something with people? But in a lot of ways, it's the creators that are like the original rebels of, you know, shifting and shaping culture. And, you know, we can take those examples from how street apparel has evolved with brands like Supreme, right? Mm-hmm. Like that whole movement. And then you can look at like really cool art and like those people. And now it's merging, and there's like this mix happening between, you know, Web3 and artists with the whole NFT movement. So yeah. I guess we should back up and tell people a little bit about you. You own a store here in OB called Verver, and mm-hmm. You also do design. So tell us a little bit about how that duo works.
You know, honestly, I strangely fell into it. I work from home for 10 years here in OB, which is not the worst thing in the world. It's a great place to work and live. And, you know, I was fine with that for a long time. And then I would kind of rotate from working at home at my house, and then going to like a coffee shop, and kind of like, I would split my time between working. And then if I needed a break from staring at the screen, I could kind of people watch for a little bit. And I would kind of burn out a coffee shop after like 5 or 6 months, and it would get creepy. They'd be like, all right, you've been here for 6 months sitting in the same chair. Like, or maybe they didn't, I just thought that in my head, but I would find a new coffee shop, or I would go back to the couch, and I would kind of rotate that for years and years. And it was like, I think it's time to get an office. You know, I've been doing this for 10 years. Let's get a little more professional. And over the pandemic, I really needed to get out of the house. So I found this spot, and, you know, it's a good rent. Everything kind of worked out. And it was like, I could have this kind of big gaudy office, you know, that just sits there. Most of the time, maybe I have a big couch there or something. Or like, why not turn this into something more multi-purpose and more interactive, and more of like once again, a piece of culture that we can add to the scene here in OB and in San Diego. So it was like, okay, so why don't we put some art on the walls? And we started with 20, 30 artists. And I just put out the word on social media and with my friends, and just said, if you make something, let me know what it is. Let me see it. And I really didn't have a path. It was just a feeling of, this could be fun. And, you know, we started out with a bunch of young artists and frankly, like amateur artists, and we've kind of developed the roster into something that's still those amateurs artists, but also some really high end, fine artists and some serious makers. And so it's a cool mixture, but it's all local, and I like to think that it's a cool reflection of the vibe and the energy here, and kind of what people are thinking about and what the energy is. It's really eclectic. It's colorful. I don't know, man. It's been this weird, just like exercise and saying yes to cool shit. And now I have to say no, which is really uncomfortable. Sometimes I just go, and I still can't really say it. I just kind of say it. We're full or something like that. But
yeah, it's like a natural progression in anything. It's a lot of saying yes in the beginning, and then you reach that turning curve, and it's like, oh fuck, I got to start saying no. Now.
Yeah, that's a part of the journey, right? Yeah, like, okay, well, now we got to start figuring out how to like actually form this into like a thing, not just, not throwing stuff at the wall.
Yeah, that's incredible. So on that side, you have a retail store where people can come in and buy art, lots of different things that local makers make. I know you have like something I've been eyeing, which are those like really cool, like laser engraved, like 3D printed wood chandeliers that like shine like fractal light.
Yeah.
On
it's
the
Lucas,
design.
it's Glow Geo. Yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lucas.
And then on the design side, what kind of clients do you work with, and what kind of design do you do?
So for the majority of my career, I don't know, 8-9 years, I was doing almost solely branding work.
Wow.
Logo design. I just am fascinated with that. The idea of the process of distilling someone's passion. It's the best for me when it's someone's passionate company that they're working with, not an accountant, but although I'll do those. But it's awesome when it's someone's little idea and they just have this kernel of an idea, and they know they have 5 or 6 adjectives that are attached to it, and a vibe and a place they're going with it. And then how the heck do you make a logo mark? Hopefully it's a one color logo mark that represents that in one glance. So it's fascinating with that process, and I've been working on that for 8-9 years, and then I kind of got dragged into the other Adobe programs outside of, I started with Photoshop really because I feel like my natural design style is kind of collagey.
Yeah, I think we share that in common. When I've seen you working, I tend to open Photoshop first. I'm like, I got to go to Illustrator.
Throw stuff in layers and and I can draw. I used to draw a lot more. It's one of those things that I'm going to get back around to and get back into the habit of. But I can draw. But I'm not an illustrator, I wouldn't say. I'm more of a collage person, and I can draw influences carefully and intelligently and get to a cool place.
Wow.
And maybe, I like to have a little twist in there. I don't do straightforward logos. A lot of times there's a kind of little twist in there that, someone who gets it, they go, oh, okay, I got it. That's cool. That's cool.
So could you define that Easter egg as like a psychedelic almost kind of twist to it?
Yeah, I guess I go there. Yeah, for sure. It can be that. Definitely it's it's like, I prefer that if you think about it just a little bit, you get something, you get a reward,
right?
And then doesn't that put you in a different state than something that's just smacks you upside the head with the big duh,
Yeah.
If you're told that this entity respects when you just think a little bit of it, then that puts you in a different place with it. I don't know.
No, I totally resonate with that. For me, I had my first like Easter egg moment like that was when somebody, and I've been, looking at brands for years now.
Staring at them.
And this was early on. I mean, this was probably 10 years ago, but it was the first time that I had that aha moment with a logo like that. And it was the FedEx logo.
I was going to say that.
And there's the arrow in it moving forward. It's a transportation business. Like
it's so stupid, but it's great.
And it's so good. And when you're just looking at it, you're just like, wow, like that's a pretty simple logo.
Yeah.
But I love that. And just hearing you say that kind of, I've always been a huge fan of typography because of my love for branding, and have never been really like the illustrator. Actually, just before you came today, I was like putting together a couple logos for one of my friends, And I was like, I do truly love, working on logos, but I'm often working with different assets that have already been created by other people.
Yeah.
Because I have the eye and the taste to put those things together.
Yeah.
But I can't always originate them. And so like, I'll always tell people like, I can't even draw a circle on paper, but if you give me a mouse and keyboard, like I can create something that, will elicit some sort of feeling.
Yeah. And I mean, you're getting into, there's a whole conversation about, what's original, and is there anything new anymore? And if you ask me, I think I'm old enough again, I'm old enough now that I can say, not really.
Yeah.
Unless there's rare people that are really, I don't know what part of that subconscious they're tapping, but there's some crazy stuff they're hitting, but maybe, but a lot of and there's nothing wrong with that. That's how, humans are iterative and we're evolutionary that way. And I think that's how we've come to how we are now.
I think there's a certain sense of freedom you get as not only a creator, but also as an entrepreneur when you embrace the idea that nothing is original. Because I feel like for a lot of us, it can be like an obstacle or something that we overthink when we're trying to build that business or as creatives, build our business, our creative business. And I think that, there is a difference, right? I don't want somebody to hear this and say, yeah, Aaron and Sam co-signed it. I'm just going to go and steal everything out there. There's a difference from like, taking inspiration, copying something and, evolving it, even like to what you were saying about branding, like putting your spin on it, like making someone think, because that is, I think, the fine line between like art and business now is that like, there is very much this, back in the day, it was like, if you were on Main Street, there'd be a sign. And, if you were just, the better, I'm not sure what the term is, but if you could paint signs really well, like you were now, the guy that people were going to, and maybe you were the only guy in that town. But now when you live in a climate like California, where there is a lot of creatives seeking the sun and this weather, a lot of us get called out here, especially in a town like OB, which is really special. There's a lot of competition and not necessarily in like a direct competition, but like there's a lot of options. Yeah. Maybe that's a better word for it.
Right.
So it's better to like lean in and take a style for your own and then learn how to evolve that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, the democratization of art is real, and that comes with technology making everything at your fingertips and make easy to do. You can get the thing out of your head easier because we just have these tools. And you can get salty about that. And, I can say Canva is taking my business or whatever, and it may well eventually, but also like, I trust that probably my path will evolve, to a more complex place than I'm at right now. And I'm not scared of more people being creative.
That's, I think
that makes the market bigger. I think that means people respect creativity and genuinely beautiful work and beautiful design, and makes the demand higher in general. Right, the pot's bigger. As opposed to it being. I mean, even 10 years ago, a lot of people would probably didn't see the value in having a good logo. And
100%.
I think it's changed in 10 years. So I don't think it's something to be scared of.
Not at all. I think that, two things. One, those same people that used to skip the local graphic designer and go to a website like Fiverr or 99 Designs are now like, no. I don't want the 99 Designs Fiverr because they all look the same. Yeah. And then, with the advancement, so right before the show, I was actually putting together some assets in Canva, and that was it was faster and easier because Canva did, they came in a really interesting place where I feel like Adobe at times doesn't necessarily evolve certain features as fast as they maybe should. And we know that because, Adobe just released, I think it's not in the United States yet, but like in Canada, there's like a web-based version of Photoshop that's like free to use or something like that. Oh, really? Kind of like a Canva business model. Yeah.
Didn't they do Express too or something? I haven't messed with it yet.
This is Photoshop. Yeah. Because what they realized is now that Canva is not just like this limited, software utility, it's like, okay, we're losing market share to the next generation. Yeah. And, for me, I started on Photoshop 7. And back then, you didn't really pay monthly subscriptions. You were just creative, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah.
And then, they started, if you want the new, features, and the features would be like, oh my God, that's revolutionary. It takes me 3 hours to do that. I can do that in 2 clicks now. That's how they rolled out their subscription model. But yeah, to that point, I think there's a lot of different tools that are going to continue to come out. And really, as a creative, something I often preach to people, and I think it's really true, especially in this instance. Yeah, sure, there's going to be more creatives, but there's only ever going to be one you.
Right.
And your expression of how you make art or how you market something or how you tell a story is going to be a good fit for an abundant amount of people. And I think that something creatives and artists often forget is that someone out there will resonate with your art, but you have to show up and take that, step. And the whole idea of, me taking the name, honor the vision instead of branding myself is that in this journey, it's really not about me. It's about what, I can help other artists and entrepreneurs do. And I think that comes back to whether it's, for someone like me, who's a first generation El Salvadorian, like I'm honoring a pilgrimage, a migration of, one country to the next. And like, what came with that. But for a lot of people, it's just a matter of like, what is that? Why did you do this? Why did you start? Like, what led you down this path? And like, what's that thing that, you always say you're going to do, but you don't do? And now, again, with the same way that we have all these different tools and these abilities to express these creative thoughts and put them out there, why aren't you taking that step?
Yeah. Like, really, why aren't you?
Like,
are you a Joseph Campbell guy? Have you read Joseph Campbell at all?
No.
He talks about just following your bliss, which sounds really cheesy when you just say that and don't have any context. But he talks a lot about like the hero's journey and that the need to itch the scratch, scratch the itch, whatever you have. That's keep that little voice in the back of your head that why do you keep looking at that thing, or why do you keep being interested in that? And it may seem stupid to you because when you aren't trained or thinking about it this way, it may seem like it's I don't know why I care about how napkins are folded. That's not a passion. Well, maybe that's the edge of a passion, and that's you're interested in interior design, and that's just, you see a lot of napkins. I don't know, whatever. But it's getting weird with it. Like it's like you can look at. I think a really good example of a good evidence of the democratization of art and creativity being great and interesting is YouTube. Like you go on YouTube and find a video with 300,000 likes, and it's somebody who just grows monsteras, and that's all their whole life, or I could look around at anything in this room. They built all their furniture out of pipes. And 300,000 people are into it, and the comments are like rife with enthusiasm. And your tribe is somewhere, and there's connection to it, and there's no excuse not to be connected to it these days.
Wow.
And I think a lot of it now is people waking up to that and being like, oh yeah, I can just be my weird. I like squirrels and wrenches and monsters. I'm going to get into that hard. If that makes you lead a fulfilling life on Earth, dope, dude. Like,
it's incredible.
Like, let's go.
And I mean, the Monstera part, you had me hooked there.
Yeah.
They
grow so well here in this climate.
It's one of these trying things where I'm often thinking of what voices we're listening to. And a little bit about my background is like, I grew up a pastor's kid. So like I had a really unique upbringing into the world where like, my family was in service to the community. I saw a lot of, Latinos that were experiencing, that journey here to America. And, there was always a very strong message of be yourself. Right. And I've carried that with me. And I didn't really realize it until like I got to know more people, especially like after I left my hometown. The last 2 years have been like, for as far as perspective goes, like just like eye opening. And, especially here in Ocean
Beach. You mean
Beach,
coming from the East Coast to here?
Yeah, that, and just my journey in general, like being in church, like then going to raves. Like I've kind of been through the spectrum. We
can talk about that. Yeah.
Of humans. Yeah. And, it's Ocean Beach, right? Like, so you ended up here. I'm here as well. how would you describe Ocean Beach to someone who's never been to San Diego?
Man, OB is there's some great license plates that actually say it really well. What's the one? It's a place beside the point, which is, I love that. We're on Point Loma and we're at the side of it. But it's also the other meaning of it. And it's full of people that are like really don't want to live or be mainstream. They just want to do, it's like, let them do their own thing, but it's not like a Texas style of that. It's more of like a California style of that, which is more laid back and more like inclusive.
Yeah.
It's not like fuck you, I'm just going to be, wearing just guns or whatever that comes with. But like, it definitely has roots in like whatever classic hippie, the stereotypes almost. But but it also just has like beach culture in there, and it's definitely really independent, but like inclusively independent. The community cares about itself, which I love.
Yeah.
It has this strong identity, but it's not like New York, like we're the best city in the world. It's not that.
Right.
It's like OB, man, like like everything's fine here. Like just help us do that together,
On the contrary.
So wait, New York isn't the best city?
There you go. I'm from Philly. You guys gotta shut up.
Oh man,
New York's amazing.
So it's it's almost to the point where like what's the beach by the cliffs? It's called
No Surf.
Yeah,
the hidden one.
Yeah, exactly. So like no surf to keep like surfers away. Or isn't there one that's like trash can or garbage?
I think it's Garbage Beach.
Yeah, garbage. And I think those are like really good indicators as well. In a place where there are people that do practice, like you say, like individuality, but also community, there's such a high level of expression. And I want to take us back to something I think that you're doing that is one of the biggest ways that we can, consciously create culture. And that is to be a platform. So in the sense of this podcast is a way for me to, have a platform to, hopefully, create questions that, inspire you and also get you thinking and sharing your story, and in turn, inspiring other people to do so. You're doing that in a very unique way by fostering and curating, this store that has a lot of these different local creators and makers. And I think that like, for me, like, whenever you're in a place, like aside from like the beach and the great weather, we're always looking for a little bit of that culture, whether it's at the bar you like because of the way they do things, whether it's like the farmer's market on Wednesdays and like what that does for the town, because there's fire spinners down there. And there's, kind of like a lot of like what you have on like the main street, like a lot of different makers and creators. I think that's an incredibly important thing that you've done. And, for me, it's like, that's why it's like, I'll take my dog for a walk and I'll be like, let me peep in here because every week there's something new happening.
Yeah.
There's something, like I'll find a new print that really resonates with me.
Yeah.
And I think that like, when it comes to like art and like plants and like things like that, there's like almost like they mean different things at different times. Like this Progress Takes Time print that I got.
I keep looking at it right now.
It's so good.
It's good.
It's so good. And, and then I got the other one that's like Surely But Slowly.
Yeah.
Which I love, which is from Cross and Switchblade.
Yeah.
And those are just pieces that, have heavily resonated with my journey as an entrepreneur, as a creative. I'm someone who moved here and knew 2 people when I got here. And now I'm surrounded by like a tribe of creative people, which is in a lot of ways what I was looking for when I came to California. Yeah. But I didn't think that, I would necessarily find them in the way that I did.
Yeah. It's not like, it's not like it's been advertised as San Diego's not advertised as like San Francisco is, or,
right.
Whatever, New York, or, those places that are kind of classic creative hubs, Brooklyn. We're not Brooklyn.
Not Brooklyn, Chris. Definitely not the Bronx.
Definitely not the Bronx. I like to call it, it's like rocket power captured in a bottle. OB.
I love that. That's really good. That was a good show. Oh man. In passing, you told me that you were involved with the local council, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to tell, just how people can participate in their own, local communities. But what does your involvement with the local council look, and how are ways that other Obesians that might listen to this get more involved?
Yeah. So this is the OB Town Council, which is it's technically a nonprofit entity. It's we're not paid. It's not paid positions. We're on the board of directors of the nonprofit corporation. So we basically we represent OB to the elected officials, like our city council member, our city council district, and then state electeds, and then our federal electeds. And by the way, I kind of knew about all this stuff before I got into OB Town Council, and then I actually learned it, and learned who all these people are, and how everything really is connected, and where the puppet strings go. And it's been really cool to see, and demystifying in a really cool way. I'm not saying I have my head all the way wrapped around it, but it's been really cool to just kind of, once again, start to affect things, as opposed to being on the sidelines as I have been for the rest of my life. So the town council we basically put on events. That's a big thing we do. We put on the parade. We put on the Christmas parade.
Oh, okay.
We have a bunch of different charity events that we do. Like we take care of a lot of families over the holidays and deliver them gifts and some really cool give back stuff like that. And we do some events to recognize Obetians that are putting forth a lot of cool effort in the community. And we do like the street fair and that stuff with OBMA. And then we're kind of, as soon as I got on the board, we kind of evolved how we're facing the community and what our mission is. And we had a really cool, what do you call it? A retreat.
Oh, nice.
My brain just went. We're talking about creative stuff for so long that my brain's in a different mode. So we went on a retreat and we kind of refocused the group, and now we have 4 new committees that we're bringing the public in on. So it's a lot more interactive, and as opposed to just us having a meeting and people sit and listen and maybe we get information to people. Now we want to kind of be integrators and grease the wheels so that citizens feel like they can interact with the city, which is really daunting to do. The bureaucracy is kind of weird. And, you could have a simple idea. This is a great example. This gal wanted to get, put fishing line receptacles on the pier. Mm-hmm. And she couldn't even get it going with the city because one guy just says, well, that's not what we do, and doesn't know where to send her. So and she just gets dead ended 3 times, 4 times before she even gets a nibble at where she should go with this thing. It's a simple idea, really, and there should be a way. So we're hoping to be the kind of mediator there. And we're going to rebrand ourselves and kind of face ourselves towards the public so that it's really obvious where you go when you have an idea, and to help the community so that we can really just tighten things up and capture people's passions and ideas about how to evolve the community. And that could be, we have cool ideas like we want to make the big crosswalk right in the middle at Newport and Cable or Bacon, like make that a rainbow.
Oh, like cool.
Each stripe is a rainbow. Like just cool little ideas like that. I want to put huge, in Toys R Us, those big, huge bins, they put the balls. I want to put those at the beach so that you can recycle your toys, like the beach toys.
Oh, nice.
So you can just take and leave
like
or whatever.
Like a big play bin.
Yeah. So, tourists, I'm sure they come in, they fly in, they buy a bunch of plastic toys and they dump it or they leave it on the beach. Like, why wouldn't that be something that you just leave there and let the 5-year-old the next day grab it?
And something that you could get away with in a place like OB because we would embrace it.
Right. And then
yes, please. That sounds good. Let's reuse that.
And it gets into some really cool, like affecting culture and community. Like, how do you change the culture of a community so that it's clear when you enter it that this place cleans up after itself? There's a lot of self-respect. There's a lot of, it's a tight-knit community that you should feel a part of and be a part of. Well, you got to put signs up that say, "Welcome to our beach. We're so glad you're here. Here's a recyclable, toy thing. You're in. Are you going to trash that beach? Probably not, because it looks like it's they have their shit together.
And they respect it, and you can tell that they respect it.
Yes, it's like the story is told to you, and it's branded that way. You know, if you think about it that way, we probably think about it that way. I don't think people think about it branded, but like that's what you're doing though. You're telling people a story, and you're delivering them this kind of this set of expectations, so that when they go in, they treat it a certain way. So it's interesting. I just started thinking about things this way when I started doing street stewards and cleaning up streets, and now doing OB town council. So it's been like an ongoing study in like sociology, you know. But it's been really fascinating, and it doesn't take a lot, you know. But you know, it takes someone going to the city, pushing through some signage, doing all the little steps, the little grunt work. So I'm learning how to do that. We're learning how to focus energy and get people together. And so it's been really interesting.
That's incredible.
It's just how to get involved is you just go to obtowncouncil.org, the website. And if you live in this area code, you are eligible to be a free member.
Oh, so that's incredible.
Just send your email or whatever, and you're a member.
That's awesome.
And that's all it is. And that just means you can then vote for the board of directors. And we want you on the 4 committees that we just formed. Let me see if I can name them. Engagement, improvement, advocacy, and events.
Sounds a lot like a marketing strategy I would come up with.
Pillars, right?
Yeah, the pillars. It's great.
And it really is as simple as showing up and helping out. If you want to, clear a street before the holiday parade, or come and help us pack toys, really obvious event stuff like that. Or you could get more interesting and not interesting, but more kind of cerebral about it, and like help us with advocacy and lobbying the state for certain, funds for the pier and stuff like that. We can use grant writers, so yeah, there's a lot of ways to get involved, and it's like, it's all just regular people. It's not like, eggheads
regular
in there
weird
doing,
OB
yeah,
people.
yeah, exactly. It's full of t-shirt wearing, flip flop wearing homies. Yeah.
I love it. When you were just, going down that conscious stream, I thought of 2 things. One, the power of signs. As a graphic designer and as a marketer, I've come to have a newfound appreciation for signs, and probably due to some of my psychedelic journeys into the world, I look at signs, and I'm talking about literal ones right now, like the ones with letters on them, the ones with arrows that, it's a way of directing things. Like I will go to a festival and be like, they did a really good job of putting up signs that direct traffic so that you always know where to go, or like where that, like important things like bathrooms and water are.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of times there is a huge gap where, like, whether it's government funding, oversight, like people aren't putting that emphasis on those things. And to your point, it is a beautiful way to brand a community, and it shows a level of respect and care. Because, if you come to my home, I'm going to say, hey, the bathroom's here. If you need this, help yourself.
Exactly.
Signs kind of are, not only from a design perspective, also able to elicit a feeling from like the typography and the colors, but we won't dive too deep into the design side of it. So I thought that was incredible. That came to mind. The second thing that comes to mind is someone else who I think has done an incredible job of consciously creating culture in OB. You'll see his signs everywhere, and that's Kip.
There he is.
And, I have the reality leaves a lot to the imagination. When I first moved here and I would walk down there to Bella's to grab coffee, that was like one of my favorite things to do. Like the first year I was here, I would always just see his signs, and like, there's just something about Kip.
Yeah.
And Kip is a very offline dude. Like Kip is a very Kip's going to be like, Kip's on the sidewalk right now with signs out in front of his,
He probably made 10 signs a day. Yeah.
And he's just always creating, and he's always, back to our point of like, you can take inspiration from things. A lot of the things he's creating are quotes, or some of them are very original signs. One that I posted yesterday was, I'd rather be dead in OB than alive in PB. Like he's got some very like, the word's not necessarily like counterculture, but like very like, they make you think.
Yeah.
And I think he's done an incredible job. And that's one of those other OB gems of a way to consciously create culture. And he's just expressing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like in a place where expression and individuality is honored and appreciated, like the more mirrors we can put out there, the better, right?
Wow.
Like Verver Shop's a big old mirror. Like that guy's a mirror for, ideas he probably sees all day, and he loves just regurgitating it, and he's probably sees something, he's like, I want other people to know that that's inspiring. He loves that. So I think and especially in a place where there's a fountain of expression happening, like stick the mirrors everywhere, give people a chance to, grease the wheels.
Chris, clip that shit. Yeah, that was incredible. And the perfect, I think, word to describe what happens when we authentically show up as ourselves and don't overthink things, and we scratch that itch, metaphorically, and, set out to do something. I think we see that as evident proof on the walls in here from all of those creators and makers that set out to, follow a dream. And you curated it, and I came by and I was like, I need that and I need that. Secretly, I'm trying to make this living room look like your store. I didn't want to tell you that.
Say no sooner than I did. Because now I have the messy problem of trying to empty it out. I don't even know what the heck I'm going to do, but
yeah, it's awesome. Some things that I wanted to tie into, stepping aside from the creativity and the culture, is as a creative entrepreneur, which is kind of like how I see you. What are some of the challenges of operating, a store like that and your design business at the same time? What are some of the things like that you deal with on a daily basis?
It's interesting. I mean, I have to be very extroverted all the time, even more so than I thought. I have not only people coming in the shop that I need to be turned on for and present and attentive for, but then I also have clients that I'm juggling. They're both of the attentions of those two groups of people, and then I also have a lot of people that just come in and talk to me, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I think that's like half of what I do. Like I would love for that to be a little like, it's like the mailbox or the post office, you just see your friends there, and I would love for that to turn that into, it's like a little exchange of information place. I think communities need those places. That's what coffee shops, end up being. But it's just like, I definitely have days where I'm like, I didn't have any time to myself at all today, like at all. So then I relish my long walk with my dog, and and then I'll get, one more text at the end of the day, and that's when I let out the curse. It's like, dude, I'm offline.
Yeah.
Stop.
Airplane
Stop.
mode.
Yeah. It's done. Like I'm turning it off. So it just, I am starting to get to like a limit of like how much I can give, to other people before I need to just shut it down and be selfish and with my energy.
Which there's nothing wrong with that.
Of course. Yeah. But I didn't have that problem at all for the first 35 years of my life. So it's weird to be now overextended. But I think that, I started out as an introvert, and now I'm probably a learned extrovert.
Or you were secretly always an extrovert.
No. I mean, I can party but I got to go home at some point, and I don't, and it's fine. And I'm fine by myself. I get energy by being by myself. And I'm fine with that, but I can last pretty long in the extrovert world.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's challenging. Sometimes I just got to like really pull some energy from a different place and kind of just be a nice guy. But otherwise, it's been interesting to have, kind of my design process just get nudged by, all the interesting people, yourself included, walking in the store and just touching base, and you just never know when something's going to inspire the right way, or you're going to get, I can't tell you how many times serendipitous information is just walks through the door on the right day. I'm looking for inspiration, or I'm stuck on something. And as a designer, I'm sure you've done this. Like you're like, you just know, like I dread one client on my Moleskine sheet because I don't really have a good idea for this thing. And so I'll kind of like, I'm looking for inspiration, and, I'll start collaging and sketching, and I'm like, I just don't even feel like I got a good nugget at all. And then some woman in a bird hat will walk through the door, and you're like, oh my God, the logo's a bird hat. That's what, thanks, Jesus or whoever that was that put that together. So it happens, dude. So it's almost like this place is like a serendipity machine, and it just has the potential to solve some weird problems if you're open to it creatively. I'm just talking about getting inspiration, not like solving world hunger.
I mean, maybe.
But yeah, but it's like, yeah, it's almost like a fun place to play with, if you just put it out there and you just see what walks through the door, maybe you'll get an answer. So
I love
it's
that.
been fun. I kind of treat it as a game,
Yeah. I love that. You mentioned you enjoyed long walks with your dog. What are some other activities that you partake in to kind of like just unplug or ground yourself or reset?
Yeah, I do. So I take off Sunday, Monday, and most Mondays I go hike by myself or with my wife. And I'll take the dog and I just get away. And I love that time. I like getting up a mountain and tackling it and having that alone time and having that space to like reset what I've wound up over the week. You never know what kind of weird neuroses you've gotten into and weird self-talk you've gotten into. And it's like, all right, dude, it's you in the mountain and let's take a look at whether any of this is worth you spending more energy on, or should you be concentrating, take something more seriously and prioritize it differently. And so then I get like, I like to do that and then get back into the week with kind of a different list of stuff that matters,
That's incredible. I had one of those weeks this week where it was just like left and right. Like my barber's like, well, what went wrong? And I was like, it's not about specific things that went wrong. It was about a lot of different things.
Right. Life
shifting. Yeah. Or like, the whole idea that like, you have to have bad days to experience good days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or, there's just so many different metaphors, for that part of life. But what are some of your favorite mountains to hike? And I'm asking selfishly because,
dude, I do.
Give me three, just top three.
Yeah. I love going up to Vulcan Mountain. Have you ever done that one?
No.
I'll take you if you want.
Let's do it.
Vulcan Mountain is right outside of Julian, and it's actually most of I think all the trail. It looks like an old truck track. Like a very old one, you could see like an orchard, like a truck at an orchard going up. And this thing just goes. It's not necessarily like a hiker friendly switchbacky trail. It just goes up this thing, but the mountain is gorgeous. And then you get to the top and you look down into the desert, into Anza-Brega Desert.
Wow!
And it's just a really beautiful trail. It kind of winds up the mountain, and then at the bottom there's two wineries sitting there. And then there's Julian if you want barbecue and whatever, all the stuff that Julian offers, which is really beautiful. Just little. It feels like the 1950s in Julian, which I love. So it's a great place to go and just step away from everything and, get some time in nature. The Vulcan, Corte Madera is a beautiful one. And that's like, it's known as San Diego's Half Dome. You get to the top of it. It's got this sheer cliff that goes into, I think it's Pine Valley. I don't know. It's a third one. Shoot.
Those are
I love going to Los Penasquitos. It's not even a mountain. It's just a trail. And that one's more urban, but it's just like an urban, it's like there's urban stuff all around it, but the canyon is its own thing. And it's just this long, you can do 10 miles on this thing.
Oh, wow.
And it's just weirdly idyllic. It's almost like being in, like the Shire. It's amazing, especially in like spring and stuff. So, and you just see a lot of kids down there and just families and stuff. And there's a waterfall in the middle. And it's beautiful, but there's San Diego has so many really
options.
Cool mountains. Yeah.
Vulcan,
and they're not
Vulcan
huge and intimidating.
Madera,
Yeah.
both stuck out to me.
Yep.
Something I love is just like all of the Spanish named things because I know exactly what they all mean. I'm like, oh, that's a really cool name.
Yeah.
And then I go into thinking like, why did they name it that? And like going back to like the history of, California way before the United States of America.
I'm just here just trying to pronounce them right.
That's awesome. I guess the last thing that I'd want to ask you is what advice would you give someone that's, fighting that, voice of negativity in their head, or like, what is something that maybe a mantra or something you've told yourself that's kind of allowed you to, step into this chapter where you're curating art and you're participating in your community. But for somebody that's like, they want to and they know, but like they haven't taken those steps to show up.
It's a deep question. And that's a hard one. I don't know. The thing that's informed most of my decisions and how I really move forward in life is that I genuinely do things that bring me bliss. And I pay attention to what my peak experiences are and when I get them. And I relish them, and I don't take them for granted. That's the deepest that I feel life when I get those. And it's like, I don't want to stop having those, so how do I engender that into the future? So I keep following my bliss. And then like, it's the same conversation we've been having. Like, can I affect my world so that I have more of that? Can I make more culture? Can we create more instances so that people have a chance to follow their passion like that? I think that would make a happier world, and like we would all have more peak experiences, and we would, more good things. I think I learned a little while ago, I still do it sometimes, but just to take it easy on yourself. Like, it's like literally take it easy on yourself, like be easy on yourself. And I think a lot of people are really bad at that. It's like, especially in this kind of culture, Western culture, where it's so deductive and, reductionary, reducing, whatever the word is, but and we just try to break things down into, measurable increments and, like plan out it's like, dude, you're, you want to get psychedelic about, like, we're just here, and who knows what the story is, but so take it easy on yourself and like give yourself joy. I think that is really helpful to just simplify life a lot of times, and find, cracks in things so that you can find joy, instead of overthinking everything. So that's how I do my life.
Love it. Yeah. I always tell people what works for me might not work for you, but I'm always happy to share the things that have gotten me to where I am today.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And where can people find you on social media?
The shop is Verver_shop on Instagram, and the design is Verver_design. If you're interested in street cleanup, street stewards, on Instagram, I think it's street_stewards. That's like, you adopt a block. Especially if you're in San Diego, you can adopt a block right now and go to streetstewards.com.
That's awesome, brother. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to share with us. And
I appreciate you, man.
I had so many peak experiences during that journey of the creative, and entrepreneurship. And, I just want to say thank you for showing up and doing what you do, because it's had an impact on my journey being out here in California. And I'm looking forward to, participating in OB specifically, but also just like, in this new digital space, and like really helping enable other creators and entrepreneurs. Because what I do believe we share in common is that we agree the world needs more mirrors. And that can only happen, when like you're kind to yourself and you just, go out and do it.
I'm super glad you're an OB, dude.
Yeah, my guy.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Yeah, that felt good.